everyone, welcome back to your new episode of Composer Spices. Today we will discover 7 possibilities to create a spooky horror film soundtrack on the violin, and we will add the elements at the end all together to a full track. Enjoy! For this music experiment you only need a violin and a bow. Or just get inspired for your creative work by watching and listening. I show this to you to motivate you to experiment with the sounds on your own, and I'm sure that you will find many more great spooky sounds you can work with in your next composition. So listen, please imagine a horror film scene, very spooky, very dark. A young woman enters a house at night, there is no light inside, and you only hear her breath and her steps. And the only certainty you have is that in a few seconds something very shocking will happen. I would even say must happen, but you don't know what. What do you do? I mean, not as that woman in the house, of course, but as a composer or a creative person who has to create the music for the scene. First, you need an idea for your beginning. Some basic idea you can start with. You may take your instrument, for example, and surprise, surprise! Let's try it with the violin today. So, we want to start low, very low, like a rumbling in your stomach, and compose a dramatic increase until the shocking moment. So we are on the lowest string, the G string, but I would say let's tune it down a bit to a D, for example. Okay, let's start with our first violin horror sound. I call it the unknown evil, because we use a special technique for it called tremolo, and it's played very fast at the tip of the bow, but also very softly and very blurred to build our musical basis. Then we add a second horror sound, maybe some single notes, very soft and low, but not as low as in the first sound. And those lonely notes, they increase and subside, so they have a crescendo and a decrescendo, intensify the certainty that something will happen. Now it's time for some nervous percussion effects. We only have a violin and a bow today, so no percussion instruments, but we can make some percussion effects as well. Therefore we use the violin technique called Collegno battuto on a low string, and it sounds like this. Okay, the suspense is increased and now we need some psychedelic sounds. Let's choose glissando for it. It's a glide on the fingerboard from one pitch to another and sounds like this. But we're in a horror film music session today, so we need to play it as spooky as possible with a rough bow sound. Now we need a feeling of musical pain, even if there's no violence in the scene. Today we choose Bartók pizzicato for it. It's a special pizzicato technique. Pizzicato is a method of playing the strings by plucking with your fingers without using the bow. Pizzicato sounds like this. And Bartók pizzicato is a very strong pizzicato where the string is plucked so hard that it rebounds off the fingerboard, like this. And Béla Bartók, the composer, was one of the first composers using this technique extensively. Now our sequence for the film. We have a solid musical basis now, but there could also be some higher notes to increase suspense. There is a special string technique called flageolet, where you touch the string lightly instead of pressing it down. And so you can play some overtones instead of the fingerboard tones. It sounds like this. That's the normal one. And that's the flageolet one. for example. It sounds a little bit like a flute or a whistle, and for our horror film scene it's very important to play it as airy as possible and to improvise a short melody. Okay, we have some musical elements now. What can we add? Let's think of the violin as what it is, a wooden instrument. This means that we can also let it sound like wood. Imagine, for example, someone knocking at the door. Actually, this is quite close to sound design, what we are doing now. Okay, now we can hear it all together with a bit of added reverb and imagine the horror film scene again. I really hope that you could get some inspiration by the session today. If you liked the video, please subscribe to my channel, give a thumbs up and leave a comment. Thank you so much for your support. What would you like to learn in the next Composer Spices video? Just let me know in the comments below, please. Thanks for watching Composer Spices today and see you next time. Bye!